Good afternoon and welcome to Have a Chat. I'm Audrey Lynch with my beautiful co-host Judy Loge. Hello, Judy.
Good morning, beautiful.
How are you?
Good. I've had my coffee. I'm ready to go.
Raring to go.
Yeah.
We have a fantastic show lined up today.
Great guests.
Some awesome guests that you're not going to want to miss. If you're just tuning in, stay tuned in.
Interesting.
Yeah. We're gearing up actually for a little bit of messy weather. Looks like the kids might get a snow day again tomorrow. Literally a mixture of everything.
Yeah, it's
snow,
bad.
Ice pellets, rain, you name it. Like
It's a
global
storm.
warming,
Yes.
all in one for the next 24 hours starting tonight or tomorrow morning.
So be prepared, folks. Brace
yes,
yourselves for
yes,
another 20
exactly.
centimeters, I think.
I know, right?
But
Ugh,
Canadian winters.
It is winter. It's January. Yes, we can't complain too much.
You have the thought of the day?
Yes, I do, actually. Something that I was thumbing through, actually, the other day, and it took me a little while to find it again on the internet. The internet's great, but sometimes it can take a while to find what it was you saw not too long ago. But I wanted to share this with you today and all of our viewers. So one positive thought in the morning can change your whole day. This is how this is starting off, okay? Lifetimes are lost in unnoticed moments. Today I choose mindfulness. I will sense more fully. I will look into people's eyes deeper. Every emotion, good or bad, I will feel deeper. Today I will notice more, so I will live more.
That's deep and it's
I know. It is.
wonderful.
It's absolutely lovely. And it made me think, in which I had texted you, the other part of that is, I don't want to live a happy life. Like most people are like, I just want to live a happy life. But I changed it around and I choose to live happy is the way I'm going to look at it.
Okay, that's good.
You choose that.
You do. Your
Right?
attitude, yeah.
Because you can sit and you can whine and complain, and we can whine about the weather,
Sure.
and or our job or our family or whatever it is. But you yourself choose to be happy.
Yes, and all it takes for me is to look around me at the people that are in the hospital and friends of mine that are actually, a couple of them are terminally ill, and I think to myself, shut up. That's what I say to myself.
Yeah.
Don't even mention that you're aching
No.
hip today or the weather is bad. I just have hauled myself back to try not to look at those negative situations that might be going on around me and to focus on the good and
That's
all of
just
that
it. It's a choice that you
Yes.
can make.
Totally.
Right?
So, positive
Kind of thing.
thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what this quote, I believe, is trying to say, is just that one little positive thought first thing in the morning will carry us through our day.
And ironically, the other night, I texted my friend who was going through a really, really rough time, and she said, thank you. At the end of the day, you just turned my whole day around. Now I
That's
can
right.
sleep better. Now I
That's
feel better for tomorrow. So she thanked me for making her feel special. And she said, you turned it all around.
That's just it. And you don't realize, just like the quote says, even just to look into someone's eyes just that little bit deeper.
Caring.
Yeah, exactly. Can
Good one, Audrey.
turn everyone's day around. So I hope you enjoyed that thought of the day.
I did.
Big news here in Miramichi. There was a big announcement.
Yes.
Hospice Miramichi is getting a building.
A new building.
A new building.
Yes.
8 beds.
8 beds, and
Okay.
it's going to be, so basically, to just recap,
Okay, what happened?
The Hospice Incorporated Miramichi, Hospice
Right.
Miramichi Inc., has been trying to make this hospice work for the past 7 years. It took,
Wow.
Darcy Gulliver, a local professional, and Connie Doucette, the executive director, and RN, etc., with palliative expertise,
Right.
with the hospice, came together and thought, wouldn't it be wonderful to have such a facility? So they've been working towards that, and their chairman is Paul McGraw of the board, and they have an exceptional board, group of members. But they thought, we're working so hard, so we thought, Gerard and I thought, as local people that like to give back, that we would give back, because him being in the medical profession and me knowing everybody in the community and seeing
And understanding the necessity of such a-
we kicked in. So we have property that we donated. We donated 10.3 acres of our property.
Thank you.
So that they
from all of
can
us.
build on that.
Right.
And it's going to be on the Gordon Road. So
Okay.
it will be a private location, which is nice because you don't want people in a hospice with traffic zooming by and horns blaring and all of that. So
Right.
it's going to be nice, quiet, and hopefully very beautiful. And then because it's going to be roughly a $3.5 million construction,
Right.
We're providing the collateral.
Okay.
Okay, so
Perfect.
That
Yeah,
being-
they don't lend that kind of money
No.
to just anybody.
No, they don't.
They'd
So it
like
was
to
a
have
very
some-
much of a negotiation between my husband and bankers and all of
Okay.
that to get that on the table. And now it is in place. And so we're very, very excited. Connie and Paul and the board have worked extremely hard to get to this point. So
Right.
we with our land and the money behind it are going to work with them. And there's a capital campaign coming up which will allow people in our community, hopefully government, all these other
that's
people.
where I was going to say, is government
yes.
sort of helping or pitching
There will
in?
be
Have we
more to
heard?
come on that.
Okay.
There will be more
Okay.
to come. And I'd actually like to have Connie Doucette and Paul McGraw and probably Peggy McLean, who's the chair for the capital campaign,
right.
and my husband to come on and discuss further the
Okay.
details
Yeah,
when
exactly.
as it rolls.
As it rolls.
But
as
it's
we get the
really
ball rolling.
wonderful
It's
because
exciting.
hospice is designed to provide support to your loved ones.
Well, that's just it. I had someone actually explain hospice to me a little more detail because for me it was a little vague
Sure.
for what I understood, and I actually got a much clearer picture
Yes.
as opposed to a nursing home and elderly
Acute
care.
beds,
And
yes.
so I was like, what's the difference? And
Well,
it is
70% of people that are in their end stages of life pass away in the hospital. 70% in
Right.
an acute hospital bed.
right.
So 15% of people pass away in hospice. And the other 15% are getting some varying degrees of palliative care, whether it be at their home or at the hospital. But
Okay.
it doesn't mean that they're in a hospital bed in the
No.
palliative ward.
That's
Okay?
right.
So this is going to be an 8-bed facility, 2 respite beds, and the others where the family can actually come and stay with you and your loved ones.
That's
so
right.
we say you go there to live the final days of your life. You don't go
Okay.
there to die. Let's just
No.
try to make this a warm, inviting
Exactly.
place because we're all going to go in that direction, correct?
No, exactly.
Everyone's going
Nope.
to pass, and
No.
therefore we don't know.
Nobody
Everyone
gets
says,
to skip that part.
Yeah, and people say, oh, yes, there's a lot of older people passing on. It's not just older people.
No,
I have
it
had friends
happens.
that have been in palliative care, and we've
Yeah.
at a young
For whatever
age.
reason that brings you to palliative,
Yes.
whether it's
It could
age,
be emphysema.
it could be a
it could be
disease,
MS,
it could be
Huntington's disease, cancer,
whatever.
like whatever that allows you not to have
It
the
doesn't
quality of-
discriminate.
no, it might
No.
be huge breathing problems that you can't be there without
Okay.
the help of palliative
Okay.
care.
Right.
So these people are trained, and it's going to provide jobs, and it's going to take
Right.
some weight off the hospital backload.
That's right.
Okay, so
That's right.
there's
Some
more to
str-
come on
remove
that.
some
But
strain.
it's a really exciting project.
Very, very positive.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yep.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Okay. We want to touch base on something a little more international. I know we've all been watching the news. I, as a mother of 4, you have a mother of 2, we must be just absolutely horrified with the stories that come out of California with the Turpin family, the parents being arrested. They have 13 children. They have been charged with torture and false imprisonment, along with numerous other crimes. Absolute
Yeah.
torturous,
Big lump.
disgusting crimes. The hair on the back of my neck
Me
just
too.
stand up. And then to read the headlines today that they are pleading not guilty.
Right, so that makes sense.
They're pleading not guilty, so let's spend tax dollars on putting them through trial because everyone has a right to a trial. I am just in awe. I'm just vibrating with the thoughts that are they blaming it on a religion they believe this
don't
was
know.
okay? They would literally torture in the sense of taunting children.
With
eating,
food?
yes, with food because they starved them, eating
Mm-hmm.
maybe once or twice a week, bathing once a year.
They were emaciated.
Yes.
The children that were
13
ranging
children.
in ages from 2 to 29.
29.
When they were presented at the hospital, the doctors were shocked that these children,
Were even
15
living.
looked about 5, and the 29-year-old looked about
Yeah.
12
Yeah.
because of the malnutrition and the lack of fresh air.
No.
And so I thought nothing could shock me in this day and age. Every day I'm shocked, and that's sad to say.
No, I have no words other than to. I'm like they're obviously guilty. The
Obviously.
like I don't understand
Unstable.
why they. Yeah.
And the kids are the witnesses, for heaven's sakes.
Exactly.
Each one could testify, so that
Yeah.
doesn't make sense against their parents.
No,
But
no.
they're old enough to say what happened to them in that home.
No, and because they were homeschooled, and there are no guidelines and no restrictions, so nobody would have gone in to check to make sure anything was being done properly. So, but there was, I saw an interview this morning of a man, because they had bought several homes, like bought, sold, and moved as their family grew, I would imagine. And the man, one of the gentlemen that had purchased a house, the filth, the squalor
Yeah, the
of
smell,
the
I guess, was
home,
unbelievable.
ropes on the ends of beds where obviously children were tied down. I am so angry with this whole.
Totally
No,
disgusting.
exactly. That's
And then
just
one of
it.
the aunts came through, and she was
Yeah.
on the news, and she said, "Oh, when I stayed there as a young girl, he used to watch me shower." Well, hello, was that not a sign to
I
report
know.
something like that? That's terrible.
No.
So there are all kinds of
I'm
sickening
afraid
issues,
so.
but that topped
I'm
them all
afraid
for
so.
me.
My thoughts and prayers are with the children.
Me
The
too.
children right now, those 13 are going to need so much help and so much
They are.
therapy.
Mental, physical, emotional,
exactly,
everything.
all of it, for sure, and that they'll get through this,
But
one
the
day at a
evidence
time.
is there, Audrey, as
It
far
is.
as the doctors
It
looking
is.
at them and the health professionals are going to say, look at these kids, they're stagnated in their growth, they're emaciated, they're whatever. They're all sort of examples of what's happened to them.
I
They're
wouldn't
living
spend
examples.
I wouldn't spend 1 red cent of
No.
a tax dollar
Trying
taking
to prove
it
that they were innocent. Right.
No, exactly. That they would have some excuse that would be
ridiculous.
okay. No, I'm done. I'm over that.
No,
That's
it's
my
just-
rant.
No, it was huge.
I can't imagine.
was huge.
No, definitely. Now you wanted to touch on a subject that was very, very important, and you felt and you've been noticing the stats and stuff have been climbing, and you really, really want to touch base on this one big subject. So we're going to have a little chat.
Cyberbullying.
Cyberbullying.
Yeah,
it is.
for 20 years that was my job, working with youth, and at that point there was obviously, in my lifetime as a young girl, bullying, of course, at school and the playground and ever. However, now
cyberbullying is
the use of technology to harass or threaten or target another person.
Torture, taunt,
Online threats, whether it be an aggressive message, anything counts, okay? So posting personal information, pictures of themselves online, all of that stuff to embarrass someone else is cyberbullying.
Okay.
And
so what are the stats?
Increasingly huge amongst teenagers to be cyberbullying.
Okay.
I'll jump around with the stats. Canadian bullying victims who are bullied at least once a week have a greater chance of experiencing dizziness, headaches, stomach and backaches, and anxiety. And unfortunately, these issues can follow people into their adult lives. So they're affected as children, and it carries on.
Right.
Okay, 60% of elementary school bullies have criminal records by the time they are 24 years old.
The bullies themselves.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
60% chance.
By the time they're 24 years old.
Wow.
Canadian 13-year-olds have the 19th, Canadian 13-year-olds have the 9th highest rate of bullying compared to 35 other countries.
In Canada?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Canadian 13-year-olds.
Canadian 13-year-old.
Have
Boys
the
or girls, or do
ninth
they
highest
say?
rate. No, they don't.
They
It's
don't say.
mostly girls. The girls that have the highest number.
I was going to say, yeah.
Of being
well,
bullied.
I think the cyber and bullying allows them to be a little bit more bullyish than they ever used to be. Whereas it was more male dominated.
Yep.
I think the internet has allowed the girls to step up and be
They are the main.
a lot more catty.
It is more for girls. For Canadian middle school and high school students between grades 6 and 10, 2 to 8% said that they were bullied at least once a week, with 4 to 10% of this group claiming to be the bullies. Okay? Just a couple of others. 47% of Canadian parents have a child who has been bullied. 47%.
Okay.
That's quite huge. 16% of Canadian parents report their child experiences frequent bullying. Girls are more likely than boys to experience cyberbullying. 73% of cyberbullying victims report receiving threatening or aggressive texts, emails, or instant messages. 73%. It's amazing. 69% of the time, bullies will stop their behavior in 10 seconds if someone calls them out. Did you know that?
No, that's good to
That's
know.
really
I know that's
good to
what we
know.
try to teach our children.
Yep.
To just say anything.
But it's
That is not okay.
According to the Canadian Red Cross, 85% of bullying occurs in the presence of other people.
Yeah.
So this may not be the same for cyberbullying, but most people receive texts, emails, or threatening messages while they're in the room with somebody else.
Yes.
So isn't it our duty to, if I see you getting a raunchy message or someone saying, putting you down for me, to try to help you?
Exactly.
And I think as parents, we have to go back and teach our children how to properly use the internet, how to be, and how to be resilient.
What are the rules and regulations? Because there should be.
There should be.
Right? An etiquette and rules and regulations to using the internet properly and
Of
with
course.
respect and all of that. Now, I have 4 kids, so 2 boys and 2 girls. And I would have to say, because my older 2 are 21 and 24 now, and then my other 2 who are in the midst of all of this age group that we're talking about, and there is a difference. So my youngest 2 are 13 and 16. So for my older 2, I'm finding out now more so that I remember the boys experiencing bullying, not so much online or whatever. Not saying that doesn't happen, but I can remember the boys telling me and having to deal with and calling the school over physical things and with my boys, because I think boys tend to be a little bit more right there. For the girls, I do believe they experience online bullying, but they're less likely to tell me. I'm finding that I don't know about it as soon as it happens so that I can intervene or help them get through it or to handle it.
Right, so they should be talking.
why?
You should be talking to each other and how to
Exactly.
handle it and how to be strong and how to walk
That's
away.
right.
And if you see somebody being bullied or know they're being cyberbullied, report
Yep.
that. Report it.
Yep.
And if it becomes a harassment issue where it's just repetitive, relentless messages that are disturbing to the person, that it can be a charge. It can be a crime.
Well, that's-
Cyberbullying can lead to
Yes.
a charge.
No,
so it should
it
go to the
can.
law enforcement if it gets to that point.
So I actually, my youngest one, I'd have to say a few years ago when this started in middle school, she's in grade 8 now, so in grade 6, and maybe we can bring her on to chat about this a little
Sure.
bit because she's going to head into high school next year, and she's experienced some of it. So she was in a group chat, which a lot of the kids do. Please, if there's any advice I have for you, the parents, is to know who your kids are talking to and what little groups or private groups that they've created to chat amongst themselves. Now, they did that with the drama group. I have no problem with that. But it also gives them a venue in order to tease and torment and have the other children all, as if they were sitting right in the room, to laugh along with it.
Exactly, supporting it.
Right? So she did experience, and it was brought to my attention through a teacher, a conversation. So they didn't have a whole lot to worry about Danae other than until we got to one point and whether she laughed back or sent a smiley face, right? Now, she doesn't believe she was bullying, but she was condoning
There you go.
the, and so
Right.
I had to sit down with her.
Kind of guilty
and-
by association.
Exactly.
Basically.
And explain to her, because you smiled or you gave a thumbs up, you're giving the bully the right to continue to do what they're
Condoning,
doing.
yep, promoting.
And that's not okay.
That's exactly how I feel too.
Absolutely not okay. I would prefer that you do a thumbs down if you're going to do anything. If you feel the need to remain silent because you feel like they're going to retaliate on you, I get it.
It's tough.
It's tough. It's definitely tough, but it is far greater for you to stand up for your friend.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And on another note, it's not just children that are being cyberbullied, it's in the workplace too. The amount of adults that are cyberbullied
That's right.
is quite shocking.
I guess we're going to go to break and we're going to bring our first guest on. So don't go away. We'll be back after Have a Chat's break. And we're back with more Have a Chat. I'm Audrey Lynch and Judy Loge, and up next we have Amy Shattuck joining us. Hello, Amy. How are
Hi,
you?
Amy.
Good, how are you?
Thank you for coming.
Good, thanks for having me.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah. So now you are the funeral director for the Northumberland Funeral Home here in
Yes.
Miramichi.
Yeah.
But first, I'd like to talk a little bit about you and who you are.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Amy Shattuck. I'm married to Corey Shattuck, who's a firefighter here with the city. We have 2 little girls, Ellie and Nora.
Nice.
I am the oldest of 5 kids. So my parents moved here from Moncton when I was just a baby. So I've lived here my whole life.
So you feel born and bred.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And so I'm also a licensed funeral director and embalmer. It's something I wanted to do since I was little.
That's quite intriguing.
Really?
Yeah, when I was 4. I told my preschool teacher I was going to work at a funeral home, and I do. So I work at Northumberland Funeral Home. My father is Lauren J. He's
Yes.
the owner of the funeral home. Also a licensed funeral director and embalmer, has been for 30 years.
30? Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's also the president of the New Brunswick Funeral Directors and Embalmers Association. So it's very much a family business. He's owned it since 2000, and I've been working with him since 2005.
Okay, so that's really interesting. Now let us know, the viewers, what it actually takes to become a funeral director. What's the
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
where would you
criteria?
have gone to school? Is there requirements? I
Yeah,
would
so
think.
my schooling, it was online through the Canadian College of Funeral Service.
Okay.
So in order to do it online, you also have to be sponsored by a funeral home and work under a licensed funeral director as an apprentice.
Okay.
So I did my apprenticeship through my dad, was my sponsor. So I was lucky to kind of learn from him as well, and it wasn't like learning from a boss. It was he was teaching me what he wanted me to know, and as much as I could absorb. So it was really good that way. The course itself is pretty tough because it's in New Brunswick you have to be a funeral director and an embalmer.
Okay.
You can't be one or the other.
Okay.
So the courses would be physiology, anatomy, microbiology, and then also the grief counseling side
right.
and law, like New Brunswick laws. So cemetery acts,
A lot
funeral
to it.
regulations. Yeah. So there is a lot, but then I got licensed in 2013. So I've had my license for almost 5 years now.
That's pretty incredible. Not everybody can do your job.
No.
What
that's
are
true.
the responsibilities? I'm going to ask you about your responsibilities.
Yeah.
But first of all, I want to say that people don't really see you as being a person that can't take time off, really. You don't get holidays, do you?
No.
And you're on call 24/7.
24/7.
Which
Yeah.
is quite a thing
No
when you have two
holidays.
little girls at home and a
Yes.
busy household and,
Oh,
and a
yeah.
life to lead.
Yeah, it's hard.
Okay, so those are two major things people don't probably recognize, that you could get called Christmas night and your whole
Yeah.
Christmas holiday is spent with
Is-
those families.
Exactly. Yeah.
What is your typical day, or let's talk about your responsibilities as a funeral director?
Yeah, so there's a variety of responsibilities. The day-to-day, just answering the phone, being there if somebody wants to come in, get information. There's those day-to-day operations. And then there's also, if we are busy, meeting the family, going through the arrangements, the embalming, preparation, hair, makeup, getting ready for the visitation, staying late if we need to, and then the funeral service, setting up the grave, washing vehicles. There's a lot of maintenance involved as well, not
It's a
just the
huge-
inside of the funeral home. But
It's a huge job.
yeah, there's a lot.
I'm going to let Audrey ask some
Yeah.
questions. I'm kind of flowing with questions because I want to know how you keep your residual emotions from following you home from work.
Yeah, sometimes I don't. I bring them home sometimes. There's days I come home and I'm just emotionally drained. I've done nothing physically, but I'm exhausted.
Mentally.
Yeah, but usually those are the times where it's someone I knew, or I know the family, or relatable. If it's a young father and they have two young kids, like in my situation, it's when it's relatable.
Yes.
But most cases, I feel like I'm there to help them and to guide them, and so I have a role and I have a job
To be strong,
to help them
Exactly.
to be
through it.
supportive and
Yeah,
a counselor
exactly,
almost.
to support
Because
them.
there's so many things I would think to planning a funeral, that and all the different options that are out there now,
Yes.
as far as picking out the casket, the music, the
Yes.
religion in which the
Yeah.
person was, and different things like that. But there's also that, and I think a lot of people tend to forget about this part, is you actually can plan your funeral.
Yes.
Yes.
These are things that
Yeah.
you can do. This is another side of
do
things
it,
that
yes.
while you're still here, you can do all of
Exactly.
that.
Yes.
So that's a whole other job,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So yeah,
I could just give you a call and.
yeah, you can call. I can meet you at your house. You can come to the funeral home.
Oh, right,
Wherever
okay.
you're most comfortable.
Comfortable.
Yeah. And so there's two steps to kind of the pre-arranging. There's
Okay.
the pre-arrangements itself, so all the information that I would need at a time of death.
Okay.
Same as when you're born, there's a birth certificate. I have
Okay.
a death certificate that I need to register with the province. So
Right.
there's information on there such as your name, address, your parents' names, and their
Okay.
places of birth, which sometimes other family members may not know.
No.
So it's kind of nice to get
That
them
you
from
can have that filled
the
out
person.
ahead of time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then I would get into the family details. So are you married? Do you have children? Siblings? Where are they living? So I kind of have a base of the obituary to kind of
Yes.
fill that stuff
Right.
in. And then the third part would be what their wishes are. So like you
Okay.
said, do they want to be cremated? Do they want to have a traditional funeral service at the church? Will it be at the funeral home? All of those things
And
that
plus the
to
financial
consider.
part of it, the
Yes.
costs
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything that would be associated
Yeah.
with that as well.
Exactly. So yeah, so that's taking it one step further. So to do what I mentioned about the pre-arranging costs nothing. To come
Okay.
in, do that,
To
get
do
the
the
information,
planning.
have it on
Okay.
file. Yeah,
Okay.
that's nothing.
Okay.
So the second part would be the funding. And there's two kind of different options with the funding. There's like we have a trust account. So the money would go into trust.
Okay.
It's not touched until the person passes away. It's sheltered.
Right.
So it's tax free
Okay.
until they pass
Okay.
away, and then there's obviously tax on it. But it's sheltered in a trust account. The second part is through insurance. So
Okay,
I just wrote my HLLQP course so for harmonized life insurance. So in about a month or so, I'll actually be able to do that through the funeral home directly. And so it gives them many more options. They're able to do payments, whatever works in their budgets over 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever they're able to do.
Right.
So it's just a better option
It's
for
setting
most
that
people.
money aside for when that happens.
Exactly. And the really good thing about pre-arranging, and if you're going to pre-fund, is that it locks in that price. So even though there's inflation over time, so we guarantee that we will do it for that.
Okay, because I was going to say, years can go by. People can plan pretty early if they wanted to, and prices fluctuate and change.
Exactly.
So that's good to know.
And when you're looking at
that would be an advantage to pre-planning,
Yes.
is that the price would be locked in.
So the cost of the whole thing would roughly be in the ballpark of $7,000 to $10,000 from, like, because you have to have the visitation set up for the family.
Yes.
So, and then you have to have you go to the church. You have to be responsible for that, and you have to be there for the burial and all of that.
Yeah. If you're looking at a traditional funeral service itself, like you're talking about,
Yes.
Probably 7, 8 average. If you wanted a monument, of course, on top of that, you could probably go up to maybe 10 or so. But for
caskets range from very low price.
Yes, and it's not only the casket. There's disbursements. So there's paying the clergy, soloists, the music, gravedigger. There's a grave digging fee, cemetery fees. So there's kind of all into one. It's not just the funeral service.
Those aren't things we would have to deal with separately. You help organize.
we help
so that
organize
all of that gets paid.
That's a huge responsibility.
No,
so
that's just
for me,
it.
say I was, we're going to look at different income levels.
Okay.
So if you're high income, middle, and low. If I was a single woman with a very mediocre paying job, but I wanted to pre-arrange my funeral, how could you help me? If I was alone with no family, not much money, and yet I want to have everything in order.
I would ask what she's comfortable putting aside every month. So whatever she's able to do is what I would work with.
Okay.
And so if it meant doing it over a couple more years, or if she wanted to pay more in a couple months, put more on than she was paying, she could do it that way. But whatever she's comfortable doing.
But what if the person was, I'm going to poor Amy, put you right in the spot. What if I was a terminally ill person that knew I just had months to live and trying to get those payments done and not being quite able to meet my ends?
Yeah, well, with this insurance that I will be selling, the benefit to it is that you can make a couple of payments and pass away, and the whole thing is paid for.
There you go.
So
which would be separate from our trust
account,
account,
or life insurance, or home insurance, things like that. You're planning for something that might happen, but in this case we know eventually will happen, kind of thing. But I was wondering that as well, because I would imagine you get calls all of a sudden of someone that didn't pre-plan. They have no, I mean, everybody has to be laid to rest in some way, shape, or form. And if the family didn't have any money and this was a sudden, like, what happens?
In some cases, if there really wasn't anything and it was sudden, social development in some cases will step in.
Right.
Okay.
And they will help. There's a death benefit
different
there
government programs in there that
they
would
could
help
apply
do
for.
the funding and that they could, that the families could, because sometimes something like that can really, really financially cripple a family.
For sure.
Right?
That's why it's so interesting having you on to explain how you can go about
for sure.
pre-planning.
Exactly.
No,
that's
just it.
I can't stress it enough. I've sat in front of families who they've had everything looked after, and they know exactly what the person wanted. They're very sure about what they're going to do. And then I've sat with families who have no idea. And I'm asking them the questions, and they have no idea what the answer is, because they've never talked about it. They're overwhelmed already.
Well, it could have been a tragic accident. It could unexpected, and now they're having to make these
major decisions.
Yes, exactly. Of a family member that's not there any longer to be able to put in their input or thoughts. How they would have wanted things to be.
So say you lost your child in a tragic car accident, or a parent or a loved one. Okay, it's so devastating that you have to deal with the grief component, but then they are so, like you said, overwhelmed with grief that you're trying to kind of pacify them to a point where they can deal with it.
And they're struggling because they don't know if the decisions they're making are the right decisions.
Because
they've never.
That would have been part of your course that you took on how to handle those kinds of situations, like how to speak to the family in a way.
Most of it is kind of learned through experience.
True.
But there is There is for sure, like psychology and some grief counseling stuff
There
that,
would be.
that we've had to learn.
No, I actually had to. This was years ago, but my mother had remarried and moved away, and her father or my grandfather lived here, and he developed cancer and was not well and things like that. But I was the one at this end because she was at the other end of the country, and so when things came to that. I didn't worry a whole lot because he kept telling me things were looked after, things were looked after. My advice would be to check on those things that you believe or told are looked after as far as the paperwork. He had fought in the Korean War, and he believed that the veterans were covering everything and that everything was going to be looked after, and that wasn't the case. So that was a bit of a shock there. And not that I was expecting this huge amount of money back or anything else like that, but I was expecting everything was covered, right, kind of thing. And you know, there were some loopholes and some, I had to fight for this or fight for that in order to. I mean, what advice would you have there?
Yeah, that happens quite a bit where they say everything's kind of looked after. And
and then the family members trust
that
they did that.
And it wasn't, I would suggest, actually coming and doing it. Because a lot of people too will put it in their wills.
Yes.
And the will usually is read after the fact. So
That's right.
they'll read it after and they'll say,
after.
"Oh no, I didn't realize that that's what they wanted, and we kind of did the opposite or whatever."
Yeah.
No, exactly.
So yeah, I would suggest making sure that it is in place.
I'm just shocked at the people that think that they're invincible. Basically, we're all mortals,
we're all
and the mortality
going
rate's
to-
100% still.
No.
So people, are we going to break? Or-
No.
I find older people that know, for example, that they're healthy at this moment, but they know if they're like 90 years old that their time is obviously limited. They don't want to face it. It's a denial factor. So we have to try to get in our heads.
It is hard.
With the dementia on the rise. And people living longer with dementia, but not having, I don't know if that's considered to be right sound of mind, to be writing a will or changing a will or signing anything. I don't know how. That would be
usually in
tricky.
those cases,
Executors?
an executor will come in, or a
Okay.
son, daughter, whoever it may be, will come
Right.
in and they'll do the arrangements on their behalf.
I see.
Yeah.
People are in denial, aren't they? They
Yes.
think, I have a friend that says, when, if I die, I go, you know what, I hate to enlighten you, but it's not if, it's
No,
when.
it's when.
You know, when.
It's when.
I think people think we're going to live forever. It's not going to ever be me.
Yeah, and also when they come in to make the arrangements, I try to say, but what would you want if you died today?
Exactly.
Because I think in our minds we're like, oh, in 20 years we might not want this, or
No.
we just have this 20-year plus. That
we don't know.
But it's like, but if you died today, what would you want?
What would you want?
How would you want to be remembered?
No, that's just it.
kind
So
of
tell
the
us a little bit about what some of the, for the lack of a better word, what would the features be to having a traditional funeral? Like what would be some of my options? You're going to say, do you want this or do you want that? What is it you're actually going to?
Do you want a visitation?
Okay.
So
that's the
traditionally
wake.
here it would be 2 to 4, 7 to 9. Yeah, the wake.
Right, the wake.
Yeah.
Okay.
1 day, 2 days.
Okay.
And then the funeral service. So the funeral service be at the church, or do you want it at the funeral home?
Okay.
And that's the viewing?
Yeah, that would be the
Or
funeral.
that's the wake and then the funeral.
Then the wake
Okay.
and then the funeral.
I mean,
And
pardon me,
then-
but you can actually have the ceremony to celebrate their life in your Northumberland
at
funeral
the
home.
funeral
Correct. That's
Yes,
what we did
rather
with
than
my
a church if you
yeah,
choose.
because he was
We
of
had a chapel.
non-denomination,
Yeah.
so we just did it right at
Exactly.
the
It's a
funeral
beautiful home, by the way. It's
Thank
inviting,
you.
it's warm,
Thank you.
it's homey, and that means a lot to families going in
Yes.
there.
Yeah, sometimes you'll find it more personal too to have it at the funeral home.
Yes.
Where
Right.
it's more intimate, I guess.
Exactly.
And especially if they didn't go to church, then it's a place
No,
where they can
they don't have a specific.
and they can kind of personalize it more as well. Like
True.
we've had many different services there where they've kind of played their own music and they kind of do their
Yeah.
own MC maybe instead of having a clergy. So yeah, there's different options that way. But then after the funeral service, there would be a burial. So it would be
Exactly.
I
There's
don't know
so
about-
many new
yeah.
features that they do have now. Like there's video, the picture videos that they
yeah.
do now,
Point
and little
presentations.
memorials. When my cousin died, a number of people close in the family got little necklaces with his thumbprint on
Yeah.
them. There's just so many more
yeah,
things that you
I just
can
started
do.
that. Yeah,
Did you?
it's
Yeah.
really interesting.
I thought that
You can
was
get,
amazing. Or have their ashes
Yeah,
if they're
they
being
do that
cremated
with the ashes
and
as
different
well.
things like
but
that.
this is nice. I like the thumbprint instead of the ashes because they get they have a keepsake with the
Yes.
ashes. But
Yeah.
in this sense, you don't have to be cremated to have a keepsake,
That's
and you don't
right.
even have to be dead. You could you could do it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
to have,
and have those
a thumbprint
thumbprints.
of somebody.
Exactly.
You can do it at any
Exactly.
time.
I think the hardest thing, real
lovely.
quickly for me, correct me
Yeah.
if I'm wrong,
Yes.
would be the initial moment when the family sees their loved one at rest for the first time.
Yes.
When before all the crowd, the population,
Yeah.
and friends and family come through the door,
You're right.
the immediate family
Yeah.
seeing their person at rest would be, to
That
me,
is-
the worst.
It is one of the hardest.
Exactly.
One of the hardest.
So you have
Part
lots
of
of
it.
challenges. You're a tough little
I
girl.
do. Yes. Thank you.
Strong little woman,
Yes.
isn't she?
Well, we want to thank Amy
Thanks.
Shattuck for joining us here today, and she's the funeral director at the Northumberland Funeral Home here in
Embalmer.
Miramichi. So if you have any more questions, you can give her a call. She'd be happy to answer them. Thank
Yeah.
you again,
Thank
Amy,
you.
for
Thanks so
joining
much
us
for that
today.
information.
You're welcome. Thank
Okay.
you.
Great.
Thanks. We'll be right back with more Have a Chat after the break. Don't go away. Welcome back to Have a Chat. Joining us now, we have our next guest, Cindy Green. Hello, Cindy. How are you?
Hi, I'm great, thanks.
First time guest to the show?
Yes, very first time. Very
Great.
excited to be
Welcome
here.
to Have a Chat.
Thank you.
Now, you're the new director at the Autism Resource Center here in Miramichi, but first we want to talk a little bit about who you are.
Sure. Well, I'm a single mom of 2 teenage children. My son is 18 and he goes to MBCC his first year this year.
Okay.
And my daughter just turned 15. She's in grade 9 at Miramichi Valley. So lots of busyness happening at our house.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
I'm originally from Perth Andover. I was born there and raised there, but
Yes.
I've been in Miramichi for 25 years.
Which is
Oh,
a pretty
now.
good number.
That's
Yeah,
a
I
great
think
century.
so.
Long run.
Almost qualifies as a Miramichi, right?
Almost, yeah, I get that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so I've been in and out of the field of early childhood for 20 some years.
Okay.
And I have a certificate in human services counselor.
Oh, yes.
I have a certificate in early childhood education, and I have a diploma in early childhood education, which deals with the management side. And I also have the certificate for autism intervention training with preschoolers.
A lot of experience.
Yeah, so lots of experience and lots of hands-on training, and it has just kind of led me to this new position, which I'm
Okay.
really excited about. I've never been in a director position before, but it just feels like an accumulation of everything
Coming to
that's
fruition.
over the years type thing. So
Tell us about your job, your new job.
well, the new job is very exciting and there's a lot to learn. The director has many roles and lots of responsibilities, and there are 9 centers throughout the province of New Brunswick, and Autism Resources Miramichi is the most progressive one. And I can say that because I didn't start these programs. I'm coming in right now, right? So I can brag a little bit.
Yes.
We have many programs and services that we offer to any person who lives with or works with or touches autism.
Isn't that
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
It's
amazing.
fabulous.
It is.
It's not just the children, because the children, as we know, grow up into adults.
adults,
A child with
yeah.
autism grows into an adult with autism, and they need support as well. And the first level of support comes from the families and the parents. And those parents are, in my opinion, are our heroes. They fight and fight for those children. Every child goes through the school system. The teachers teach them, the principals are the principals, and sometimes the kids need a little extra support or a lot of extra support.
Sure.
And it's not built into our school system's curriculum, but it's the parents who fight for that. So if your child is struggling in school or even at daycare in early childhood, yes, the teachers are there, but you need to fight a little bit harder for your child to be successful in school, because they do need extra support. And sometimes we have parents walk in the door, their child is newly diagnosed, they don't know what to do next.
You know, some like, as far as my husband and I, like, it is such a huge blow to the
Yes.
family, to the marriage. One
Yes.
parent I was all about, okay, let's
get
fix
it
this
done.
or figure out what we can do so that he can be successful regardless. And then the
Yes.
other parent's sort of in denial
Yes.
of that there's anything wrong.
And your
per
firstborn,
se. And my
firstborn child, your
firstborn,
new
yeah,
mom.
It was.
Yeah.
It was a huge challenge. I read and got my hands on as much information
And
as I
that's what you
possibly
need to
could
do.
throughout that, and then to see him right through like middle school and high school, and then all the other diagnoses that went, like Brody actually is a little unique in the sense that he wasn't actually diagnosed with the autism high functioning until his high school years.
Right. Yeah.
We grew up with the attention deficit and hyperactive disorder, and was always told, and it was only as things got older that I was like, I always felt like there was something more to it
Yeah.
than that.
Yes, and often is. There's often a second diagnosis that doesn't really go with autism, but that a child
No.
can have at the same time.
Yeah, and each and
Yeah.
every single one of them, I just want to say, is absolutely different. There are no
Yes.
two alike,
If you've
just
met
like
one
any
person
children.
with autism, you've met one person with autism.
That's right.
And it's such
That's
it's such a broad spectrum,
Huge.
and that's why the word
Huge.
spectrum is in the title, Autism
Okay.
Spectrum Disorder. It's a picture of an umbrella. Some kids are here, some kids are here, some adults are here, some adults are here, some are here and here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the characteristics for each person are very unique, and often we see what we call splintered skills, where a person can be very, very high level of one skill, math or art or music, but very, very low in other areas that we take for granted. Communication,
right.
Oh,
for
that's-
example.
yes.
And often when we think of autism, we think Rain Man, but
Exactly.
it's not like that.
I
It was
didn't
for
think
him,
it
but it's
initially
not,
either.
It's not like that for everybody. It's
No.
like that for that one person.
Because
And
when
the
I'd watch
skills are so
videos,
varied.
there'd be like children with their hands flapping and,
some of
not
them do.
talking and things like that. So I was totally in denial in the sense that
Yes.
they were switching it from
Yes,
you know,
yes.
attention deficit to autism, and I was like, really? Then I don't
Yeah.
truly understand what autism
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Right?
and that's
so
the
then I had to research
challenge.
all over again.
Yeah, and that's
kind
the
of thing.
challenge. And then you mentioned denial. Denial is very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
As young people, when we have babies, we have this expectation of what their life will be like and what our life will be like with a new baby.
Yeah.
We know it's going to be hard. We know they're not going to sleep all night every night. But we have this expectation of what life will be like, and then all of a sudden, poof, it's
Yeah,
blown
and initially it's
apart.
a very pretty picture with no
Yeah.
big,
It is.
big
no
obstacles.
big obstacles. And
Right.
then all of a sudden, it's blown apart by this big obstacle, this strange word, this
Right.
foreign, it feels like a foreign country, and you don't know what to
Exactly.
do. Well, then you call us.
So tell us about
just it.
what
Come
you
see
do
us.
exactly. So if I was, like you said, you have this new job,
Yep. Basically,
director.
we are a support system of resources for the community. So anybody in the community who has any questions, or they have certain needs, or they've just received a diagnosis, or they're not sure of a diagnosis, or they need to find a psychologist to do a diagnosis,
Right.
anything. Then once they get a diagnosis, what do I do? I have a child who keeps running away at night. What do I do?
Yeah.
I have a
Bunch of
child
things
who
are out
will
there.
not brush his teeth. What do I do? I have a child who is really struggling in school and exams are coming up. What do I do?
No.
So and if I don't have the answer, I'm going to try to find out for you.
Just
Because that's what we're
It
that's
gives
what
me-
we're for.
It
That's
gives me
our
great peace of mind to know that this is
yeah.
existing.
It's a fabulous resource
Yes.
for our community. And just last week, I had a speech language pathologist who works for the school system reach out to us for some supplies. She was looking for some games. She was looking for some puzzles. She was looking for some sensory equipment. Do you have this, this, this? And we have almost everything on her list. Come and pick it up. Distribute it to the teachers that need it. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And a couple of weeks ago, some parents came in. They're just listing some things that their children are having trouble with at home. Just basic routines that we take for granted. And transitions are very difficult for young children on the spectrum. So by transition, I mean up in the morning to get ready to go to school. That's a transition. There can also be major life transitions from high school into the real world. That's a big transition.
sure is.
And transitions are difficult for most people on the spectrum.
Totally.
But we can help with that. For a daily transition for a young child, we can make schedules. We just print them and laminate them. You can stick them
No,
up in your house. And sometimes it's just a little thing like that that makes a big difference. It creates independence for the child, that fosters self-confidence. Okay, I brushed my teeth, now what do I need to do to put my shoes on? Okay, I did that. And then they go to the next thing. Okay, now I need to put my coat on to go out the door. Sometimes it's just that simple
little stepping
technique
stones.
that can
Yeah.
really help transition the day. And it makes things smoother in the home because the child's not the only one in the home.
No.
There are often siblings.
Yes,
That's right.
exactly.
And
I
it's
had
a
3 other children who would be like, well, how come he doesn't have to and I have to? And
Yeah.
But I always just had the mandate that I will never stop showing him or telling him that
Yeah.
this is what he's supposed to be doing, because what would that be teaching my other children?
Exactly.
Right? I didn't
Yeah.
want him to not have to do those things. He's going to be an adult someday.
That's right.
So
Needs-
Brody is the type
yeah.
who will always need to be guided.
Yeah.
He's
Right?
done a great job. He's been very
Yes,
successful.
he's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Very
and
amazing.
for me, the other part of it that's available to parents that I found, I wish someone had told me sooner, but I had to find out on my own, because I believe Autism Resource Miramichi was like me and was very new, and I
Yeah.
was scouring all the information as they were growing
Yes.
at the same time, and because Lila's son and mine are
Yes.
close to the same age. So what I found out was, like, the financing, the government
Yes.
programs that
Yes.
Brody was
Could
entitled
access to, yes.
have, so
Yeah.
that you could get the kind of therapy that might be outside the financial scope of what you can
Exactly.
afford.
Yeah.
And of course, mind you, they backdated it and they gave him the money that was,
Good, yeah. But you had to fight for that.
But then
You
there
have
was
to
a
fight for that.
transition from when he was an adolescent to now he's an adult. So there's
Yeah.
a lull between the time they turn 18 to turn 19
There
where
really
they
is.
get nothing because
Nothing.
he's not a child,
Yeah.
but he's not an adult.
It's not
So there's
cool.
this little window. So,
Yeah.
if you didn't know that, you wouldn't plan for that ahead
That's
of time.
right.
Like, there's so much information.
Yeah, and she's
out
an
there.
amazing. I'm going to give her. I'm getting emotional because Audrey's been
Oh,
an
I know.
amazing parent.
Yes.
And
I can
you
see
know.
that when I
I
see
mean,
Brody. Yeah.
Because I was like, once he gets through school, now what?
Now what?
Now I like all this fighting and all this
Yeah.
scraping to get to where we are, and I'm like, okay, that's done.
It doesn't end when
Now
they
what?
graduate. They
Right?
still have
Like,
needs and they
does
need
he have
support.
the ability to have a job?
Yeah.
Who's going to take him in to train him to get him ready to perform a job?
Yeah.
Will he ever be able to live on his own? Will he
Yeah.
ever get
How does he
married? have
keep the
kids?
job?
constant worry.
And
all
that,
that stuff.
that brings me to one of the programs that we offer in our center is an employment skills program for young adults
Exactly.
on the spectrum.
Okay.
Right.
And they initiated a pilot program a couple of years ago, and it was very successful. So now the funding
That's
comes
right.
through post-secondary education, training, and labor.
Mm-hmm.
And we're funded. We have a employment skills program coordinator and a employment skills program instructor, and she becomes a job coach throughout the program. So what happens is the participants apply. They have to be a certain age. They have to be on the spectrum. They go through an interview process. They are accepted into the program. They learn all kinds of skills, not just how to get a job, but how to keep a job
Right.
That's
and how
just
to
it.
act on the job.
And with your
Exactly.
staff, your
There's a
fellow
lot,
workers.
yes, so many
Yeah.
obstacles that adults on the spectrum face,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a bit of rigidity, so there's only one way to do a job, but
Mm-hmm.
really for adults there's more than one way to get a task completed, but some people on the spectrum are rigid, they think there's only one way.
That's
So
right.
that can cause miscommunication, misunderstanding between coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
There's also where sometimes people on the spectrum talk too much about a certain topic. They're
Right.
fixated
yes,
on it.
Yes, perseverance.
That's a huge turnoff for a lot of coworkers. I'm just
Yeah.
your coworker. I don't need to know how much you know about a certain topic.
right. The perseverance.
Right? So
Yes,
those
exactly.
skills are taught in this program. And they do a classroom component in the morning, and in the afternoon they put those skills to use upstairs in our
Yeah.
bookstore.
Yeah.
And upstairs in our building, that brings me to
They've
that
created
topic.
their own business to employ them, to teach them.
Yep.
So they don't
and
have to
that's
worry
right.
about finding an employer that will hire them. They have their
Yeah.
own business to hire them right then and
Love
there
it.
and to give them that training.
We
It's
accept
fantastic.
gently used books from our community, which is a wonderful
The book
resource.
nook?
That's
Yes.
ours,
That
the
is
book nook.
big.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
huge. I love it.
And right now we employ 3 young adults who are on the spectrum, and they work mostly independently upstairs. They still need a little bit of support. And for me, when I started in October, it was a matter of getting to know each one of them and how do they need to be supported. Do you need to have things written down? Okay, I can do that. Do you
Yeah.
need to have signs to remind you how to sort the books? Okay, we can
Sure.
do that.
Always helpful. Always giving them
Always,
guidance
just
is
a
beautiful.
support
That's just it.
But
to
they're
make
becoming
them
so independent at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the other side of this is these employees earn an income, and they are going to spend their income in our community.
That's
Yeah,
right.
True.
It's a full
right.
circle.
It
It's
is.
just it's
Win-win.
just a
That's
beautiful
just
thing. Yep.
Exactly.
And the students that are in the employment skills program will be matched with an employer.
Right.
They do their resumes, and the coordinator helps facilitate a match with an employer, and the employer is subsidized through the pedal funding, and to help them find gainful employment, which means they'll be continued on at that placement and paid.
And the self-esteem just
Exactly.
grows and
grows
grows,
and
and
grows.
It gets
their sense
greater.
of self-worth and independence and how valuable
of
they are
that.
as we are.
It's fabulous.
Well, see, for Brody now, he has gone through that program and he
Yes.
has been employed, so he has a part-time job with McDonald's.
Oh,
But he's growing as an adult as well and
Yes.
realizes maybe he wants to take it up a notch. He
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily want to stay there, and it's a part-time, and maybe it's wasn't the perfect fit for
Maybe
him.
not, but he
right?
learned a lot.
Busy, and if he can handle
But-
that
Yeah.
speaks volumes.
So now he's looking into possibly going to MBCC and
Nice.
taking a course
Yeah.
or a class
Yeah.
to give him the training or the knowledge of a
Wonderful.
different career,
Mm-hmm.
something that's more suited where he wouldn't have to be guided as much because he
Right.
doesn't have a whole lot of interest
That's right.
in the employment that he's at
And those
now.
skills he learned through the program and
That's
in the
right.
McDonald's placement will carry over.
That's right.
Once he graduates from MBCC, they'll carry over and they'll be with him forever.
I didn't
and
love
ever.
my first job. Did you?
No, who does?
I did.
I
I've
mean,
always
like-
loved my work.
Yeah.
I think, like Amy said earlier, the funeral director, that she knew from a young age that she
That
wanted,
she
to
wanted
deal
to be.
in the
Wow.
funeral director business.
Well, I felt
and
like all my
I always
work-
knew I wanted to work with children and help adolescents and deal with those kids that get a bad rap as
Yeah.
Yeah.
teenagers that have problems. That was my
Well,
field.
I felt all my jobs were rungs on a ladder
Yes.
that got to me where I
Okay. You
wanted
are.
to be
Ah.
or whatever. Like, not that I
Yeah.
didn't, like I wouldn't say I loved them.
No,
I
but you
enjoyed them
learned.
as I did them, right?
Yeah.
And I gave it my all.
You wanted
I
to
was
go
never
more.
a slacker.
Yeah, and we have to
and
as
just do
adults,
that.
we have to have the attitude of whether we like the job or not, we're still gaining some skills and we're learning
Right.
something, even if we
Yeah.
learn that we don't want that job.
That's right. So
Right?
Even
But
with the
sometimes
courses
we
and
learn
classes
that.
you take in high school. you
That's
know?
right. Well, I
Same
learned
idea.
I'm not good at math, but that's okay. I'll go somewhere else, right? But
Yeah.
but sometimes people on the spectrum can't do this job. I don't like it. Done, and totally write it off.
Yep.
But they're learning that they can gain some skills from this job, even if they don't like the job, and it's okay to move on to another job. That is okay.
Yeah.
And the
For
interaction is
years,
constant. That's a
constant,
skill
yeah.
in itself, trying to deal, like you said, the
social
communication
aspects,
part.
Yes.
Learning
yeah.
each other's techniques, learning how to approach people, learning what to
Yeah.
do and what not to say
Learning
is big.
to read other people's body language is a big aspect.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. I actually see Brody use his skills when he comes home in his communication
We
and
hear
his
that.
interaction with his home
With
life
his
and his
sibling,
day-to-day
yes.
life. I mean, he still
That's
has his
amazing.
distractions with his video games and things like
Yeah.
that, but once he has his work day in, but when he even just passes through the house and he sees, oh, mom's home, how was your day?
Yes.
Wow.
Like
yes.
he doesn't not, and I know that's a skill he learned
Yes.
there,
And we've
right?
heard that from
that's
other
a
parents.
polite, positive
Yeah.
Conversational
interaction
skill.
that normal people, you
Yeah.
know, not
Yeah.
normal. I use
They
that
do.
word very loosely.
The general,
in general,
Yeah, that's
you know,
right. Yeah,
kind
and
of
when you
thing.
when you get to work, how was your weekend? So one of the things that our current participants worked on is actually called greetings, because
Yeah.
they would just come in and sit down.
Yeah,
But they've
and
learned
not talk
to
or
greet
look or
the
make eye
next
contact.
person who comes in. They've learned to respond.
For sure.
Yeah.
If somebody comes
Or-
to the bookstore, you're not just going to
No.
sit behind the counter and let them look at the books. You're going to say,
No.
welcome to the center.
Because you're not going to go back to the bookstore. You're going
Right,
to work
welcome
out and
to
say,
the
that
center.
is
What
so
type of book might
rude.
you
You're
use?
just
And
not
they
going
don't
to
believe
there
they're
again.
ignoring,
No,
like that's
they're
just their,
They're just not interested.
but that's not part
But
of
they're
that.
learning to
That's
be and
wonderful.
express
Exactly.
that, yeah, and even
No.
to take a compliment. You have a really nice shirt on today. Instead of just ignoring that compliment, they're learning to say thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you. It's so
It's
wonderful,
amazing.
this whole program.
Yeah,
and congratulations on your
No.
position. You have
Oh, thank
staff
you.
around you all the time.
Yes, we have 3 employees in the Book Nook, and we have a young fellow who's our administrative assistant, and he
Okay.
operates our puzzle play, which is our 50-50 weekly
That's
draw.
right too. Yes.
And it's
I want to mention that.
yeah, we're trying to get it to grow. It's been a struggle.
Okay.
We realize we have 5 other draws weekly that are
that's
our
right, here in
competitors.
Hershey.
Yeah.
and that's
Well,
an
to all our
obstacle,
guests
but-
and to all our viewers today, we want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for
And
having
if
me.
you have any questions whatsoever, be sure to check them out. They have a Facebook page as well. Thank you for joining us here at
Have a
Have
great
Chat.
week.
Have a great week. We'll see you again.